Hello, and welcome to Skincare Confidential, a podcast supporting the Science of Skin Summit. The summit is taking place September 5th through the 7th in Austin, Texas, 2025. My name is Dr. Ted Lain. I am a board-certified dermatologist and your host for today's Skincare Confidential episode. And I am so excited to present my guest today. This is Mr. Jeremy Bayen. He is the CEO in North America for Naos Skincare, which is really based in France, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yes, correct. Everything started about 40 years ago in 1977, to be precise, in Aix-en-Provence, a small town located in very south of France, not too far from Marseille for those who know our geography.
Yeah, in Provence. Wow, it's a beautiful area. So, and it was started by a pharmacist, right? Like many of the French brands, the foundational French brands, a pharmacist, one person started it.
Yeah, it was actually a biologist. So pharmacy was
Biologist. Okay.
the environment that he specialized in, but he was a biologist to start with. And this man, Jean-Noël Torel, was really at the roots of everything that has been created over those last 4 years, which is, of course, our most famous brand, Bioderma, which we call in France Laboratoire Bioderma in our very French way, but
Uh-huh.
also Institut Esthederm, or more premium BM, and then very lately État Pur, which is pure active ingredients that we can use sort of the food supplement before the skin. So these are the
Mm.
three brands that he founded it. And yes, everything that he did started 40 years ago in Aix-en-Provence.
Amazing. And so the reason that we wanted to highlight this company, it's a very interesting French company. There's another company that I know of that is similar in terms of having a large nonprofit foundation at its origin, but this is one as well. And I love talking about companies that at its core isn't there for profit necessarily, but for the goodness of mankind. And that's where I think Naos really is. So, Jeremy, can you just review kind of the origin story? I mean, we talked about the founder, but then the endowment that owns 80% of the company as well.
Well, yes, it's actually a very beautiful story, and it's something that is very motivating, both for our consumers, but also for our employees to be a part of. And our founders very early on has decided that this company should be something more than just something that generates profit or invest in and research and development. He wanted something that would be literally a gift when he's gone to society and to mankind. Um, sure that very early on, he started working on what he called a constitution, kind of the one you have in the United States. It's something that basically has major guidelines, ground rules for us to operate. If you want to say so, it's like kind of a frame that basically structure everything and that guides everything we do for the company. Once those rules are in place, the executive branch that we are all part of is free to navigate within that frame and take decision, act within the frame. So it's in that spirit that he founded that constitution. But the end goal, and you were mentioning the endowment fund that we're part of, is basically to guarantee that whatever we do is never motivated solely by making profit, but mostly by trying to give it back either through science or through the development of the people that work for the company to mankind. And that's the philosophy in which we are pretty much doing everything.
How long have you worked for the company, Jeremy?
It's been 15 years,
Yeah.
almost 15.
Yeah, I would imagine starting to work for a company like this where the primary driver isn't profit could makes your job really interesting and fun.
Well, it does actually. If you're considering the fact that for a very simple fact, every quarter, most companies have to give dividends back and they have to reach target objectives. We don't. We have a freedom that is given to us by the fact that we are belonging to a non-dom fund that, financially speaking, is allowing us to really think long term. We're not motivated by short-term gains or short-term objectives. We're really working in the spirit of making things happen for us in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Some of our projects will have some outcome 10, 20 years down the line, and that's okay. We don't have that pressure. And as an executive working for the company, I can guarantee you that having that
Yeah.
pressure off my back is something that I was actually looking for when I started my journey at Naos.
That sounds amazing. And I just wanted to kind of step back a little bit and talk about the philosophy of product development at this company, because it's different and it starts off with one word, which is ecobiology. Can you please define ecobiology and explain to us how that permeates through the whole development process as you guys are on this multi-year process journey of new product development?
So ecobiology is the word, but before the word, there was a philosophy that has been for long written on the walls of Naos. The philosophy comes from a very simple sentence. Rather than treating the skin, teach the skin to live according to its natural mechanism. Everything started with there. That was the vision that Jean Noel had 40 years ago. And from that vision came the word ecobiology, which is basically, very simply, the study of every relationship that exists between a living organism and its ecosystem, ecobiology. And so, to make it very simple and to explain it in a way that everybody can understand, we're basically not trying to reinvent what already exists in Mother Nature. We're trying to understand how a healthy skin is working, how a healthy skin is correcting its imbalances, and once we've understood those mechanisms, we're trying to replicate those mechanisms within the formulations we're developing, trying as much as possible to use biomimetical ingredients, which means ingredients that are either close enough from what already exists within the skin or identical whenever we can. This to ensure basically two main things. The first one, obviously, efficacy. If the skin recognizes something that it would normally have, in which means ingredients are active principles that are working in similar ways as they would naturally have on a healthy skin, it will guarantee efficiency of the product. And the second thing is tolerance. Obviously, using biomimetical ingredients or ingredients that are very likely to be close enough from what's already in the skin, we try to avoid as much as possible that the skin reacts in a negative way to those ingredients. So tolerance and efficiency is what we're getting by this way of approaching R&D.
So, Jeremy, could we consider these products then suitable for sensitive skin because of the tolerance idea?
Yes, obviously, sensitivity is an area where we have some significant successes. I
Mhm.
mean, our line Sensibio, if those of you who are buying our products have been in contact with those products, they're extremely good and efficient. Our most famous product, the Sensibio H2O, which is the makeup remover that everybody uses, whether it's on TV sets, on movie
Oh,
sets,
the
or
micellar.
dermatologists
Yeah.
to remove makeup before procedure,
Mhm.
is stem exactly from that logic of not having anything that would invade the skin, really protecting the skin ecosystem. And actually, it was a product that was not a makeup remover at first. It was designed as a cleanser for very sensitive skin to be used by dermatologists in a way that they would not have to use water before a procedure and remove all the makeup before, I don't know, lasers or injections or even surgery.
Right, right, right. Because right now, a lot of us are using these wipes, these makeup wipes, which have a million chemicals in them. And
They're
so,
not always the best.
yeah, yeah. So Sensibio is another opportunity as a micellar water to remove the makeup and cleanse the face. And I think that is the product that Bioderma is known most for. Although I was actually introduced to the brand via the Atoderm, that platform for atopic dermatitis for those patients with eczema and very sensitive skin. I know that the lipid replenishing cleansing oil is one that I recommend quite a bit. Patients really enjoy that.
It's true that our two most famous ranges are Sensibio and Atoderm. Sensibio is for the sensitive skin, and the H2O is our most famous product. We're
Yeah.
actually celebrating this year 30 years anniversary of that product.
Wow.
We invented it 30 years ago. Since then, there have been many versions of it and copies of it, but we invented it. Atopy was another big subtopic that we wanted to tackle at the group, and Atoderm is the range to handle those imbalances. And you're right, the shower oil is one right now of our best performing product in the United States. I would say for mainly a few reasons. First, it's a family size product. I mean, it's large, 1 liter, 33.6 ounce, I think, in the US. That's the way you're describing the sizes. So, family format, it's for everybody. It can be used by newborns, kids, adults, elderly. It's really a family friendly product in that sense. But also because of its formulation, it really respects the skin. There's no soap in it, there's no surfactant in the product.
Okay.
So, it's an oil based product that indeed helps replenish the skin, but mostly also leaves that nice little layer on the surface of the skin once the shower you're done with your shower, which avoids that tight, itchy feeling that you may sometimes have. We are using hypoallergenic fragrance, so there is fragrance in it, which is something that sometimes dermatologists have an issue with whenever recommending a product to an atopic patient. So for those who are not that well confident by using a product that has fragrance, we have another product which is called the foaming gel from Atoderm, intensive foaming gel. But yes, the shower oil has an hypoallergenic fragrance. It's fun, it's playful under the shower, while really preserving that skin ecosystem that we always try to achieve when developing any products.
This concept of hyperallergenic fragrances is really getting gaining popularity in the development phase of different products. I think you'll see more and more of the sensitive skin products having these light fragrances that are known to be hypoallergenic. Historically, we've thought of a fragrance mix, particularly balsam of Peru, for example, and other single ingredients as being very irritating to compromised barriers. But there are these well-studied and highly regarded hypoallergenic fragrances that are suitable for sensitive skin. And I think most patients actually prefer products that do have a light fragrance versus being fragrance free. And I'm sure that's why this product has been so popular.
Again, and that's something that we are really keen on at Naos. Whatever we do, we always backed it with clinical studies.
Yeah.
And we did a few studies actually on that particular product to avoid what we call contact dermatitis or any reactions, inflammation that would be triggered by the fragrance. So we have significant studies that show that there's very little to none chances of having any reactions using that product. But again, as you were saying, being atopic, and unfortunately I have a daughter who is atopic, is
Yeah.
something that is not fun, especially for kids. You don't get to have those products that can do a lot of foam under the shower and that gives pleasure. So the entire hygiene routine becomes kind of boring and dull. By trying to have those hypoallergenic fragrance, we're really trying to bring a bit more fun aspect to those cleansing moments that are so important for atopic patients, but also sometimes regarded as a painful moment.
Talk to me about this. I'm sure I am not correctly pronouncing this, but Sebium, the Sebium H2O that you have, the micellar water under Sebium.
Yeah, so Sebium is our range for oily and acne-prone skin.
Okay.
Sebium is a range that indeed has a few products, whether they're cleansers or skincare.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, having such a tremendous success on our C Bio H2O, we
Yeah.
tried to develop a version that would be suitable for oily and acne-prone skin. So the H2O version of Sebium really does that. It helps remove makeup, cleanse the skin. It's a non-rinse product, so you just need to use a cotton pad like you would with the Sensibio H2O. But on top of it, it has some ingredients that will help dry a little bit up the skin, remove more easily the oil, and it also
Mm.
helps regulate the sebum quality, sebum production. So it has a few things here and there that are really special for oily and acne-prone skin.
Yeah, this is a really good idea. I think, especially for those teenage girls that need to take off their makeup. And this is an opportunity to take off the makeup with the micellar water, which we know is not too irritating, but it also helps regulate sebum, which is kind of an added bonus for our teenagers.
Exactly. And especially when you have acne or inflammatory acne, the last thing you want is to create even more inflammatory reactions. So again, trying to not use too many things. And our H2O has, again, injectable grade water, so that avoids us from putting preservative in it. So that will really guarantee the minimum amount of any irritating products or even tissue or water. I mean, the water
Yeah.
from our sink is not usually the best option for anything. So
Yeah.
today's water quality being not so
Yeah.
great, I think it's pretty safe to use micellar water.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the different ingredients here. It does have zinc gluconate and copper sulfate. We know that both of these actually have anti bacterial effects as well as anti-inflammatory, and the zinc in particular can decrease the sebum production. So that's a very interesting combination of products. Now it makes sense to me. I just want to shift gears now after we've spoken and highlighted some of the products to talk about the idea of the split governance within this company, which again is so interesting because you've got the endowment fund and which holds all the equity essentially of the company, and then you got the decision making which is outside of that. And again, I'm highlighting this because we just don't see other companies that follow this in skincare. There may be other companies in France that I'm not aware of, but in skincare I just don't see this. So can you explain this to us?
So basically, again, the founders wanted to really establish the frame in which we should operate once he's no longer there. I mean, the legacy is behind everything that he does. He always think about what happened the day I'm not here. Once what happened the day I won't be able to share my vision anymore. So everything. I mean, he's 70. I think he's 76 years old. So he has a point in his life where creating a system that would allow that company and that vision to survive after he's no longer with us was in everything that he has been developed lately. So in that spirit, he created a comité de surveillance, a surveillance committee, that basically is in charge of making sure that the frame that he has designed is being respected. That's the sole job of the family and of all the other people that he has named to be in that surveillance committee. But then below that committee, there is the executive committee. There is the people who are actually operating the business on a daily basis. And again, within that frame, we are given significant autonomy to make business decision, which means that we're again we can decide on launches or on
Yeah. Okay.
innovations. We can decide to invest money on R&D on or developing a market that he doesn't get involved in those decisions. His sole focus is on making sure again the vision, the values, the rules are respected, and everything else is up to us, the business, to decide for.
Jeremy, in the United States, do you see the market here being very different than the market in the EU or in the UK?
Completely. It's a different beast. Um, in Europe, whenever we're trying, and that was actually one of the biggest learning when I've joined the company here in North America, is in Europe we're selling a story about ranges, about brand, the complementarity of the product. We sell solutions that have different steps in the routine, and it's all about real estate. So when you're
Mhm.
entering a pharmacy, you usually go with 5 shelves right away, and you're trying to sell a full-on 4 or 5 step routine to your consumers. In the US, our retailers, our partners, are focused on creating small but yet impactful success story on each SKUs. So if you're entering a store with the spirit of, hey, let's have 5 shelves like we usually do in
Yeah.
Europe, and let's try to convince the consumers to buy 4, 5, 6 products of one of the same range. Um, you need a lot of means because the
Yeah.
US is an expensive market. You need to invest on a lot of different SKUs, and with a chances of success that is at the beginning quite marginal. So the approach has to be more SKU driven rather than range driven. It has to be performance driven rather than storytelling driven. So it's a different approach. It's more about the numbers, making sure that you get that effectiveness on each SKUs before you increase the ranges to more and more products. And I think it's the same for the doctors. I mean, your guys are overwhelmed by the brands, the numbers of products we have. So we took at now a different approach. We're going with a few selective products on which we know we can make a difference for both the doctors in its practice and the consumers or the patients in their daily lives. And we're putting a lot of energy behind those products. And once those products will be well established, and we'll look into develop, increasing the ranges to other products. But that's very different in Europe. We usually don't go that way.
You're exactly right. I'm just thinking about how I kind of use products and recommend products. I definitely will take one product at a time. I'll make sure that it works. If I believe in the science and I see the results in my patients or in myself, then I'll expand to other products within the line. I certainly would not just take the story of the product portfolio and just say, okay, I believe in the story, and then take the product line all, in whole. So I completely understand what you're saying for the United States consumer and doctor as well. And you're exactly right. We have a ton of competitors, and everyone's trying to get some of our attention so that we would recommend their products. But I think that there, on the flip side, that story, the company story, the sustainability, the ecobiology story actually will resonate in the US as more and more physicians learn about that, and consumers, because it's so unique. And I think there's a lot of push for us to try and support those companies that are in support of our values. And if you value, the environment, if you value the idea of climate change is something that we need to combat. I saw that you have refillable containers there and ways to refill and not waste plastic. I think there's a lot of desire on behalf of the skincare community to highlight those values of the community, and that's what this company is doing.
I think that one of the learnings I've made in the United States is that we need to be humble and we need to be respectful of the consumers, the doctors, their practices, the environment they're working in. And if we are truly ecobiological, which means in that spirit of studying the relationship that exists between a living organism and its ecosystem, we owe to the consumers to also understand what is his relationship with the ecosystem. And
Mm-hmm.
again, for doctors, the same thing. What is your relationship with this environment you're in? And we know that the environment right now is very dense. There's a lot of information being shared. We don't want to overtreat the patients. We don't want to give it something he doesn't need. The
Yeah.
same thing goes with the doctor. We don't want to overcrowd your space and force upon you to use product that you might not need at the moment because you're using other brands which are really good and we respect. So again, that's ecobiology is in everything we do. I was saying it at the beginning, not
Yeah.
just our product, but also our philosophy into approaching clients, doctors, and consumers.
Final question for me, Jeremy, and thank you so much for your time today. As you look into your crystal ball and thinking about the next 3 to 5 years, especially as a well, you don't even have to focus on the United States. I know that's the market that you're focused on is the North American market, but when you think about the trends and what will be very popular right now, we're really looking at regenerative ingredients and exosomes, for example, and other regenerative type products. But in 3 to 5 years, where do you think skincare will be?
It's a very tough question, and there's a lot of research being done. I mean, exosome obviously is something we're studying ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other venue for us to also explore in aging, in age management, because we're not anti anything at now. So you will never hear the word anti-aging when we're talking about something. Aging is part of life. You cannot
Yeah.
be against something that's part of life. But age management, which is basically taking care of men and women and making sure that they feel beautiful while aging. There are a lot of venues and exploratory researches being done on that front for Institut Estéder, Bioderma, and État Pur. I think that artificial intelligence is going to play a more significant role in R&D, in the way our products are being designed, in the way our products are being researched, in the studies also that are being done. So I'm very curious to see in the coming years how much AI will play a role in our field, which is beauty and skincare. Um, and again, being an ecobiological company for us, I think that the future will be about understanding even better and even more how our skin naturally functions. I think we've just scratched the surface. I think answers about most of our problems lie right there in front of us. It's just about taking the time to study it. Suffering is the one thing that we should be also paying a little bit more attention to. I think I mean, helping the skin to treat itself is great, but also ensuring that this happens while the patient has the most comfort is something that we should, as company, pay a lot of attention to. I mean, I'm thinking about patients suffering from acne you were mentioning before on isotretinoin or other treatment that are quite hard, quite harsh, both from an aesthetic or a physical and feeling perspective. These are pretty hardcore treatments. So how do we make sure that while improving their skin health, we also ensure skin comfort? This is something that I think companies should and will spend sometimes on as well in the future. So a lot of different things. But yeah, I will keep some of it secret.
Yeah, of course, there's some that you need to keep secret, but it's such an interesting idea, the dichotomy there of really trying to really understand the biology of the human skin in order to harness that biology to inform product development. But at the flip side, using AI, using computer systems to drive to drive through that data and understand which data is important and maybe product development based on that as well. So it's very interesting, just two pronged approach of human biology plus AI. But I think most companies are doing the same thing, although maybe not looking at biology like you are, like Naus is, to really understand product development. I think that's very interesting. Listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated it.
It was a true pleasure.
Yeah, really interesting company now with Bioderma as their kind of premier product line in the United States. And it's one that I urge everyone to kind of take a look at. They've got that micellar water, which is really their number one, but that Sebium idea with added that zinc gluconate and copper sulfate is really interesting as well. In my hands, the Atoderm has been great for our atopic dermatitis patients. So really like that line also. But again, thank you, Jeremy. This is Ted Lain. I'm a board certified dermatologist, your host today for Skincare Confidential. If you like today's episode, please subscribe, download, and refer us to your friends. Give us 5 stars as well. Don't forget, we will be having this podcast on YouTube as well if you'd like to watch it. And you can see handsome Jeremy Bayen in Montreal, Canada. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.